Welcome to TradeTheMBA.com. This is John. This report is for the 5th of May. And, well, we ended the week on a positive note, got above the 61% there. And not whole lot going on here. You don't have a whole lot of short interest because we've completely wiped down. So now it's just about bulls and whether they can maintain the reality. And the fear trade was still unable on the S&P to get positive on a shakeout. That's problematic overall, and we still have not seen a full reset of DOC from a steel standpoint. So, you have some limitations, but overall, it's still biased to the upside with where the magenta and MBI yellow are at this particular stage. Same look here from a NASDAQ point of view. A slight difference, positive on the shakeout now. So that has to maintain itself because if we move to a negative on the shakeout from there, then you're definitely going to be breaking below the 50% on a selling spree. So that becomes pivotal that this needs to continue and grow in order for there to be any kind of maintaining of a rally or a run for any significant length. Treasuries again still caught back in the middle. The yield is just going back and forth because nobody has real clear guidance as to what the Fed's going to do because they're sitting out all of it with their expectation that inflation is going to skyrocket. But that's a tough call when the numbers don't reflect it. And then you get this where oil now at a range that's getting to be much more comfortable and certainly definitely a boost for economic growth. And coming at a time where you're not seeing all of this breakdown, but you also have that potential with supply chain disruption from China and that coming in another month or so, depending on how inventories go. It'll be interesting. And will people bother buying those products that no longer exist? Will they find substitutes? These are all the relatively unknowns. Of course, you get everyone with the gloom and doom expectations, and they're not coming true. Sort of like climate models. You claim everything is ending, and then you can't really back it up. The euro is still flying high under this. They've got this construct built in that got to go to the eurozone anywhere but America because that's where it's going to happen. That would be a big mistake because things are poised. They're really setting up nicely now. It's going to take some time, but better to be in the setup where you've worked through a lot of the pain and you're about to convert into growth versus where the rest of the world is headed. Gold, though, continuing to hold its place. No surprise, filled in positive extremes and is working its way back. We got a reset of the shakeout at this particular stage. But the potential is that it could turn around. Not quite yet, but a little more time of sideways move for it. From a Bitcoin standpoint, still relatively nice from a turnaround view. It's now mimicking what the Nasdaq's doing. It was a little bit better overall in a broader sense, and definitely gaining some acceptance. Still too slow for any real monumental shift. Where you don't see it is from ETH, and it's interesting because all this talk about tokenization stuff still growing, but there are hurdles, and like any emerging kind of system, it sometimes takes time. Plus, you've got a lot of real serious players who don't want it to happen. From a 50K standpoint, you can see here we climbed up that nice little wall with the magenta, shorts faded out of this scenario. And then once you broke down below the MBI yellow, started to show a little bit of weakness, held up pretty well, but then you finally got a short increase here, crossing firmly above the red, and that's when things started to build towards the open short where we're at right now. And that's all a pre-market configuration. So from we looked at it from Friday there, you had the big pump up rally early on pre-market, and once things opened, continued to push, and then here you are in the post, wiping out everything that was done over the weekend. Certainly, we'll take care of all the calls that were bought over Friday and that to prepare for the new week, and you rinse and repeat and do the same thing until there's some definitive clarity. But I think it's becoming obvious that the U.S. is going to weather this storm. Is it going to be uneven and somewhat disruptive? Probably, but doesn't mean that it still isn't on the right track because with oil where it is, You're not going to see the inflation that they're talking about, and that's going to have to change the narrative. They'll hold on to it for as long as they can, but it will end. And speaking of end, Skype will be ending. I have the Microsoft Teams trying to figure out their migration thing and follow their videos, but we'll see how it goes. Either way, you'll be able to find the videos on YouTube from the website and see if we can get that Teams figured out and be able to migrate over there. As always, trade well. Have a good one.